Hey everyone! Today I'm going to explain and recap the intense thriller movie, Children of Men. This is a story set in a terrifying future where no child has been born for 18 years, and humanity is on the edge of extinction. But everything changes when one impossible miracle appears. Let's dive into this dark, gripping story. The story opens in the year 2027 with a news broadcast about the British government. The authorities have passed a law stating that the country's borders will stay shut after 8 years, and the deportation of undocumented immigrants will continue. The report then mentions the heartbreaking death of the youngest person on Earth. Inside a cafe, people listen closely to the news, but a tall man named Theo shows little interest and walks out with his coffee. Moments after he steps outside, an explosion goes off in a nearby shop, injuring several people and bystanders. Afterward, Theo heads to work, where his co-workers are grieving the loss of the world's youngest person. Seeing this, Theo goes into his boss's office and claims he wants to take his work home, saying the news has affected him deeply. His boss understands and allows it, so Theo boards a train to return home. During the journey, immigrants on the tracks throw stones at the train, but protective barriers on the windows keep the passengers safe. Once he arrives, Theo calmly exits the train and notices cages filled with detained immigrants under police watch. He walks past them and makes his way to visit an old friend. After greeting each other warmly, they drive to the friend's home, which is hidden deep in the woods, unlike typical houses. Inside, Theo notices the friend's mentally unstable wife studying newspaper clippings about years of human infertility and the rise in refugees. There is also a photo showing Theo with a woman and a baby. Later, the friend proudly shows off his drugs and offers some to Theo. He then brings up something called the Human Project, a rumored group searching for a cure to infertility. Theo responds that even if a cure exists, it's too late, as the world has already fallen into chaos, war, and despair, pushing humanity toward extinction. The next day, Theo again passes detention areas as police round up refugees. Soon after, he is suddenly grabbed by two men, forced into a van, and taken to a room where they introduce themselves as the Fishes. This group is a militant organization fighting for immigrant rights, led by Theo's former wife. She speaks to him casually about their cause, mentioning that even British citizens have joined their movement for equal rights. She then tells Theo she needs his help to secure transit papers for a young refugee to reach the coast. She explains that he can get the documents from his cousin, who works for the government, in return for money. Theo refuses, saying he doesn't need it, but the men forcefully cover his head with a bag. Soon after, they hand him a letter and release him. Theo visits his cousin, a government official who oversees a collection of rescued artwork. Knowing the truth won't work, Theo lies to him and successfully gets the transit papers. That night, he meets one of the Fish's men at a bar and tells him he received joint transit papers, meaning he must accompany the refugee himself. He agrees to do it for more money. The man accepts and leaves behind a photo of the refugee. The following day, Theo meets his ex-wife again, who takes him to a car where the man, a young refugee, and a midwife are waiting. They begin driving toward Canterbury, but suddenly an armed group attacks them. The driver quickly reverses and escapes, but gunfire hits Theo's ex-wife in the neck.
Jesus Christ!
As they flee, they encounter police and ambulances heading toward the chaos. Two officers stop them after noticing the injured woman, but the driver kills both officers. Later, in the woods, the midwife says a prayer over the body of Theo's ex-wife. Theo steps away, overwhelmed, and breaks down as he mourns her death. Soon after, the driver urges them to leave and head to a safe house on a remote farm. After cleaning up, Theo overhears the group choosing the driver as their new leader. Later, the midwife calls Theo to a barn, saying the young refugee wants to speak with him. There, she reveals that she knows about the child Theo once had with the now deceased leader of the fishes. She explains that the leader told her if anything ever went wrong, she should stay with Theo because he would take her to the Tomorrow, a mysterious ship meant to help her. But Theo has no idea what she's talking about and tries to walk away. Just then, the young refugee removes her clothes, revealing that she is pregnant. Theo looks at her in complete shock as it sinks in. After nearly 20 years of infertility, a young refugee woman is standing in front of him, carrying a child. Moments later, the fish's new leader and the midwife enter and pull Theo away. Afterward, the group watches a news report about the attack that led to their former leader's death. The report also states that the new leader, Theo, the young refugee, and the midwife are now wanted terrorists for killing 2 police officers. Authorities claim they have enough evidence to track and capture them at any time. The new leader warns everyone that they could be arrested soon. He adds that their plan to deliver the young refugee to the Human Project might change, especially now that she is pregnant. Suddenly, Theo suggests that she should reveal her pregnancy to the world, which sparks mixed reactions among the fishes. Many believe the government would never accept a child from a young black refugee, even if it is the first pregnancy in decades. The young refugee insists on going to the coast to avoid the government, but the new leader argues that it is too dangerous and wants her to give birth at the safe house. In the end, she agrees to head to the coast after the baby is born, and the group responds with cheers. Later that night, Theo hears people arguing outside and learns that the new leader had planned his ex-wife's death. He also hears that they intend to kill him next and use the baby to push their revolution. Theo quickly wakes the young refugee and the midwife and tells them what he heard. They rush outside, steal a car, and escape while the fishes chase after them. The new leader runs out, ordering his men not to fire because the pregnant woman is inside. Despite the pursuit, they manage to get away and make it to the old man's house. Theo introduces the young refugee and the midwife to his friend. They then discuss the Tomorrow, which turns out to be a hospital ship disguised as a fishing vessel, connected to the Human Project. The ship will stop at the last 2 signal points along the way at sunset, one later that night at Winsmore, and another in 2 days at Bexhill, a refugee camp. After hearing this, the old man stands up and walks off, leaving the others unsure of what he plans to do. While they wait for him to return, the young refugee talks about how she realized she was pregnant. She says she had never seen a pregnant woman before, but figured it out when she started vomiting and her stomach began to grow. Eventually, the old man comes back with good news. He has found someone who can help them enter Bexhill, an immigration officer who regularly buys drugs from him. That night, after taking the dog outside, Theo overhears the old man talking about Theo's past with his ex-wife. He explains that they met during a protest and fell in love. Later, they had a child, but lost the baby during the flu pandemic of 2008. Theo quietly walks away while the old man continues speaking. The next morning, loud noises wake Theo up. The old man checks the security cameras and sees the fishes breaking in. Theo quickly leaves with the young refugee and the midwife, while the old man decides to stay behind to delay the attackers. After they leave, he calmly expresses his feelings to his wife and ends her life as an act of mercy. Soon after, The fishes storm the property searching for Teo. The old man lies to the new leader, but his men discover documents showing that Teo and the others are heading to Bexhill. With no way out, the old man makes a final joke, but the new leader shows no humor and shoots him 3 times without hesitation. Nearby, Teo watches from the woods as his friend is killed. He then quickly gets into the car, meets up with the immigration officer, and drives away before the fishes can find them. The next day, Teo wakes up and realizes they have stopped at an abandoned school. He sees the young refugee playing on a swing outside, while the midwife is inside one of the rooms. Out of nowhere, the midwife begins explaining how infertility spread over time, starting with miscarriages and continuing without any clear scientific reason. Suddenly, an alarm goes off outside, and they rush out to see a military vehicle approaching. A voice from the vehicle orders them to stay still through a speaker. Teo quickly repeats a phrase the old man told him to use, calling the person inside a fascist pig. The immigration officer steps out, raises his baton to intimidate him, then suddenly laughs, welcomes them into the car, and begins driving toward Bexhill. On the way, the young refugee is hit with intense pain in her stomach, but Teo and the midwife cover it up to avoid suspicion. When they arrive, the officer opens the door and tells them that a gypsy woman is waiting inside to arrange a place for them. The 3 act like frightened illegal immigrants while the officer pretends to threaten them. Inside the bus, the midwife explains to Teo that only the former leader had contact with the Human Project. The group spreads messages through immigrants until it reaches her, meaning no one else in the fishes had direct communication after her death. Soon the bus reaches the Bexhill refugee camp, and the young refugee's water breaks. Her cries draw the attention of a police officer who tries to take her away. The midwife creates a distraction by acting wildly religious, but this only results in her being taken instead. Thinking quickly, Theo tells the officer that the girl has wet herself, making the officer back off in disgust. The young refugee witnesses firsthand how the authorities mistreat immigrants. Inside the camp, Theo and the young woman meet the gypsy woman, who takes them to a small room. There, after struggling through the pain, the young refugee gives birth to a baby girl.
You gotta go.
The next morning, loud knocking wakes them. Theo opens the door to find the immigration officer with the gypsy woman. He tells them that the fishes have blown a hole into the camp and are freeing refugees. Meanwhile, the young mother tries to hide her baby, but the officer notices and discovers the child. He tells them they need to leave, though the gypsy woman warns against it. The officer silences her by pointing his gun. He then reveals that Theo and the young woman have rewards on their heads, and he plans to turn them in while keeping the baby. Before he can act, the gypsy woman pushes him down the stairs. With Theo's help, they kill him and escape. The gypsy woman guides them through chaos filled with protests and violence toward a hidden rowboat. Suddenly, the fishes appear and capture the young mother and her baby. The new leader takes them into a building, leaving Theo and the gypsy woman behind, surrounded by hostile members. Just as things turn deadly, the British Army arrives and opens fire, clashing with the fishes. Amid the chaos, they escape, but only Theo continues after the young mother into the building under heavy gunfire. Inside, Theo moves past dead bodies and frightened refugees hiding in corners. He eventually finds the young woman and her child and tries to leave with them, but the new leader confronts them. Before anything happens, an explosion kills him, allowing Theo to guide them out. As they walk through the destruction, everyone they pass, soldiers and fighters alike, stares in amazement at the baby and briefly stops fighting to let them go. Moments later, the battle resumes, and they hurry away. The gypsy woman leads them to the boat, but decides to stay behind. Theo rows toward the meeting point while they watch fighter jets bombing Bexhill from above. Suddenly, the young woman notices blood in the boat and panics, thinking she is hurt. Theo reveals that he was wounded earlier by the new leader. He then gently shows her how to help her baby burp. Afterward, she tells him she will name her daughter after his late son. Theo smiles softly before losing consciousness. In the end, Theo dies as the Tomorrow ship finally appears and approaches their boat.